feature. We don't have a chat dialog box going. For participants on the phone, there's no way to raise your hand like the online platform. When ready, I will announce to all phone users, and we will know if we have you, and I see there's a couple of phone users in the meeting. I will let you know that you will all be unmuted, and if you have a comment, please state your name. Again, it's not required, and wait until you're acknowledged in order to speak your comment. This is like waiting in the line at the podium during a regular in-person meeting. For roll call votes, each board member will be unmuted when the board secretary calls their name in order to vote. For motions and seconds, board members will raise their hands to be unmuted before making the motion. With
Dennis
that,
Mayo, Mary, may I ask you a question?
yes.
Is there a chance that you may know, it looked like there were 13 people on the line. Or could you give us the names, if you can, of who else is on that isn't board members, et cetera?
Greg, I'm going to look to you. Is that, are we able to do that?
The only person I see that's on is Jack, and then there's a couple of there's one person who's on via phone. And,
all right, thank you. It's not a big deal. I just was curious.
and it's up to them if they would like to announce who
And
they.
the usual staff are here, Dennis.
Okay.
As Pat Kaspari has joined us. Hi, Pat. Okay, are we ready? So I'm calling to order the 7 o'clock meeting, and we'll start with a roll call.
All right, Director Barsanti?
Here.
Director Corbett?
Yes.
Director Couch?
Here.
Director Mayo?
Home and on the phone.
President Burke?
Here. And let's see, will you all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Oh,
Could I have a suggestion?
hold on.
I got it.
Oh, you got it, okay.
John, you have a suggestion?
Yes, I think that we ought to ask the audience to give us feedback on how it's working for them this first time, and just so they know that and feel welcome to make suggestions for improvements if possible.
That's a great idea. Maybe I could do that during public comment. Okay, so I'll plan to do that during public comment. Okay, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh,
That was all the special effects you get tonight.
let's see, we did just report out of closed session already. No, nothing to report out of closed session. Are there any additions to the agenda?
There are no additions to the agenda.
And I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Also move. John Corbett, I so move. Raised hand.
Do we need a second on that?
I'll second.
Thank you, David. And do we roll call out?
Director Barsanti?
Yes.
Director Corbett?
Yes.
Director Couch?
Yes.
Director Mayo?
Yes.
President Burke?
Yes. Public hearings, there are no public hearings scheduled. Item C now, public comment and written communications. And this is any person may address the board at this time upon any subject not identified on this agenda, but within the jurisdiction of McKinleyville Community Services District. However, any matter that requires action will be referred to staff for a report of action at a subsequent committee or board meeting. As to matters on the agenda, an opportunity will be given to address the board when the matter is considered. Comments are limited to 3 minutes, and letters should be used for complex issues. As suggested by Director Corbett, this might be a good time that we could hear from anyone who has joined who would like to make a public comment. And it could be as simple as you can't hear us well, or this is working or not, but you're not required to participate in public comment if you do not wish to. So I'm opening it to anyone from the public. Make sure everybody is unmuted, please.
Everyone is unmuted, except for Leslie. Now everybody's unmuted.
Okay. Hearing none, we'll move on to item D, the consent calendar. Consent calendar items are expected to be routine and non-controversial, be acted upon by the board of directors at one time without discussion. If any board member, staff member, or interested person requests that any item be removed from the consent calendar, it shall be removed so that it may be acted upon separately.
Yeah, I would, staff would like to pull D3, please.
Okay, item D3 is pulled from the consent calendar. Any other items?
Okay, Madam Chair, I'll move we approve items D1 and D2.
Second.
Thank you. And a vote?
Director Barsanti,
Yes.
Director Corbett,
Yes.
Director Couch,
Yes.
Director Mayo,
Yes.
President Burke.
Yes.
Did you call about Director Durham?
Okay, so we are on item D3, compliance with state double check valve law, page 34.
Thank you, Madam President. The reason why I've asked to pull this item is related to the fact that you know, having some sensitivity related to the fact that people might not be able to afford, you know, if they have to replace a double check valve, it's going to cost $175. If they're going to have a plumber come and do it, they're probably going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of $300 by the time the dust clears. Of course, we do have to be concerned about the security of our water system and to prevent cross connections. If people go longer than they're supposed to, they would definitely be in in violation of the state Title 20, I think it's Title 19 or Title 17, whichever one it is. And at this time, I would like James Henry to go ahead and is James Scott the speaker?
Can you hear us, James?
Can you hear me?
Oh,
Yeah, we can hear you.
So his is that one, that phone number. That's it. He's on the.
Oh, okay, James is. Oh, okay.
So I'm running two lines, I guess.
Yeah, we'll merge you.
I can merge you.
I can hear James, but could you mute him?
Oh, so that 251 is the 3251 number. Got it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, anyway, go ahead, James.
Can I hear that question again, Greg?
Okay,
Sorry.
so the question is related to, could you give the pertinence of the importance of people maintaining their check valves and making sure that their check valves are operational?
Yeah, so the importance of it is, the reason why they have a double check valve is to prevent cross-contamination from an alternative water supply, which could be a well or pumping from a creek. The double check valves are checked every year, and if they don't pass, well, I don't need to get into that. I think you guys understand that. The importance of it is, if it's not holding and it doesn't pass the test, then it could allow cross-contamination from their alternative water source into our main if they could overcome our pressure. I think that's it.
Yeah, thank you. So for the purposes of this, there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There were 7 people on the list to start through the cycle of being locked. They won't be locked until May 4th as the first notice, second notice. And so now they're into the final lock. The board meeting is April 1st, and so they would basically be locked in next month, at the beginning of the month in May. There are 5 people that are left on there. I usually have there's been times when people have approached the general manager and asked the general manager if they could have a week longer or a couple of weeks longer, and I've done that. But I just kind of wanted to check with the board and see what the board's feeling was related to this, and to if the board has any feedback on how long we should let people go before we have concerns about the fact that that the potential that they could be cross-contaminating our distribution system.
I have a question, Dennis.
Okay.
Go ahead, Dennis.
So Greg, are any of these repeat customers, and are any of these situations that are scary to us in terms of cross-contamination? And I ask that relative to the situation we're in now. You may not be able to get a plumber out.
Yeah, Dennis, those are great questions, and I'm sorry that I can't answer them.
So what would your suggestion be relative to that then?
Well, I think that if they're repeat offenders, I think that would kind of have an impact on how much leeway that I would give them if this is an ongoing thing that every year we end up in this situation. I think
Right.
I would use that in my basis for the amount of leeway that I would give them and how long they would have to get their double check valve back up. Because needless to say, because ultimately, if they don't get in compliance and they're not showing compliance with getting their double check valve, and they don't want to fill their well or cap their well, the only remedy to this is locking them.
Right. And I understand that, Greg, and I appreciate that what you said is accurate. Back in my history, I had to do several things: cap my well, pull out the line, etc., to meet these requirements. So I understand. I think right now I have no problem with whatever you think we need to do in terms of locking out, finding, whatever. My concern at this moment is with our current shelter-in-place situation, should we put this off for a month or two?
Well, that every alternative water source that doesn't have an operational check valve is a potential for cross-contamination into our system.
Right.
They have a month now before there's going to be, and so let me look at my calendar real quick, and I can.
Greg, I'm confident in what you're saying, and I concur with your answer to my question. I just wanted to throw that question out, and I think you've asked and answered it. And subject to the rest of the board, I'm prepared to concur with your position on this.
Yeah, so they probably, if the 4th is on a Monday, May 4th is on a Monday, so they probably wouldn't get locked until about the 6th or something like that. What I would propose is that we make contact with each and every person on here and get a commitment from them to get their check valves done as soon as possible. We could even go so far as to replace, if their check valve needs to be replaced, we could actually replace their check valve for them, keep track of our time and the cost of the check valve, and amortize that and spread that cost over a 12-month period of time. I'm hesitant to go into the check valve replacing business. Our guys are pretty busy right now. But I think that so basically, Dennis, is what you're saying is that instead of locking them on May 4th, we would give them until June 4th to get their.
Well, that was a thought, Greg, but actually my position, I was asking questions that way, but actually my position is that I agree with that, absolutely what you said previously, that the way you're going about this, I support. I just wanted to be sure that we didn't have any obligations the other way.
Okay. No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I believe Director Corbett has a question or statement.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I am not going, we have standard procedures and I'm not going to agree to any variance of those. I would certainly defer to the discretion of the general manager on the timing of enforcement, as we always have. I don't think we're in a position to know where we're going to be next month or the month after that. I don't want to set a precedent. I don't want to be in favor of having approved any particular actions of the general manager, other than I appreciate he brought it to our attention. We have good policies, and as always, he has some discretion on timing.
Okay. Mary, Shell, and David both have their hands up. I'm not.
Yeah, I saw Director Couch next.
Okay, well, I test backflows, so I'm pretty familiar with it. So one of the things is we have to comply with a state backflow law, which says all the devices have to be checked by the end of the year. So that's kind of the final thing is there's a state law to comply with, but that's the end of the year. So if we wanted to move them to June or something, because we're in this crisis and I don't think we should be shutting people's water off right now, I would be fine with that.
Thank you. I was going to go to Director
Go ahead.
next.
I was concerned because we're not supposed to cut anybody's water off, correct? I mean, isn't that law now?
I was going to inquire the
We're
same
not-
thing. Greg, do we have any, or sorry, was that Director Trask? Do we have guidance on whether or not we are allowed to be turning off services from the governors?
You know what? I'm not 100% sure whether that's the case or not. I really don't know about that. I could find that out and get back to the board on that. I know one thing that regardless of if they're in violation of the backflow law, that's clear grounds to disconnect somebody from our system. I mean, you know, but.
Okay, so let's keep going with the comments here. I think Director Corbett had another comment.
I just want to say, I don't think we can make a blanket thing that if people don't pay, we can forgive them. If it's 5%, it's one thing. If it's 40% or 50%, it's another. And we have solvency questions here. We can't answer them. So I'm going with existing procedures and the general manager's discretion until we can get back and really get a sense of what we can reasonably afford. And these are going to be very tough issues for everybody before we get out of Dodge.
So I heard we plan to make contact with each person on the list and see what their ability and willingness is to comply with the double check valve law. And then I heard that there could be a scenario where we could replace a double check valve and amortize that cost if that maybe were an outstanding situation.
Right.
Can I make a statement on that, Mary?
Yes, please. Dennis, go ahead, and Director Trask.
Yeah. Yeah, specifically on that, I appreciate General Manager Orsini's position on that. And I think we should do that in extraordinary circumstances. I would like to see us do that, but I would not like to see us make that some kind of a, oh, anybody can do it and we'll do it for you. And, you know, that could get abused. But under extraordinary circumstances, I think we probably ought to consider that.
Okay, and I think I could, on a case-by-case basis, make a determination on that.
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
Okay, are there more? Colleen, did you have a comment?
My only comment was that it would really depend on the individual circumstances of each person who had the valve. Some of them, I mean, this may not be a problem for some, it may be a problem for others. It's part of our standard procedure to contact each individual. So we will know their individual circumstances and can adjust accordingly. But yeah, and that's what happens over the 30-day window. That's why they've actually already been contacted. They know that they're in violation. So we have that opportunity. We've already been in contact with them.
I think the shut-off would come, is that the lockout? Our next board meeting is
on the same day as the lockout. Or no, it's actually on Monday, and then our board meeting's on the 6th, I believe. I'm sorry. But we usually don't get they usually don't get locked first thing on Monday morning. It's usually later in the week.
Oh, and it's been a long time since we've actually ever had to lock anyone for a DCV violation. Almost, I mean, everybody comes into compliance for that.
Yeah, usually the worst case scenario is that somebody will beg for the mercy of the general manager, and I'll give them a week or two extra, and it seems like everybody's able to comply. But we're under different circumstances now, and I could see this becoming an issue. That's why, you know, if people are going to have a hard time paying a $100 water bill, coming up with $300 to pay a plumber might be above and beyond what they can actually come up with. That was the only reason I brought it to you, because I'm sure as this goes on, this might become a bigger issue. I just wanted to bring it to the board's attention now while it's not really an issue.
well, thank you for doing that. Director Corbett?
I just have one, and I realize this is very awkward for staff, and I'd even asked whether the wisdom of putting this, recommending this as an agenda item to the chairman, the concern expressed was we didn't have enough information. But we're going to have to manage the district finances. We're going to have to manage the hardships out in the public. And it's not going to, the more we start getting sense of what's going to happen. My advice to staff is just make up percents. 2% don't pay, 5%, 10%, 15, 20, 30, 40% don't pay. What's that do to the district? So you sort of have a sense when the numbers come in how we're going to act. And I just want to say that as soon as possible, we need a report from management on a whole, across the board, how we're going to approach this, what our finances are, and so that we can get started early as a board on trying to arrive at what's the best and fairest for our customers in the district.
So, John, unfortunately, your sound is cutting in and out, but I heard that you want to suggest that we recommend that this being the financial situation among our customers in relation to fees and fines and services that we're providing. Recommend that for an agenda item where the staff will help us consider how to approach this and what the financial implications are.
Right. With discretion to the chairman, if the next meeting is premature, put it on the meeting after that because we got to get this right. But that I want us to get started in that direction.
Okay, so with discretion, let's get started in that direction. Thank you for the suggestion. I appreciate that. And so are we confident as a board in our current procedures related to double check valves? And this is great to get the general manager to pull this and to get staff's input. Are we okay to move on this item as a consent item?
Can we just postpone this so we have a little bit more information? My concern is, would anybody get cut off before our next meeting?
No, I can make sure everything is cut off before the next meeting.
Okay.
I was going to say, let's be sure no residences get cut off.
Yeah.
Before a service or a business gets cut off, I'm not too worried.
There's only 5 customers on that list.
Okay, so
And they're all residential customers.
Okay.
okay, and we have assurance that nobody's getting cut off before the next meeting. The general manager can work with the customers in that regard.
Yes.
Good.
So I'll entertain a motion for item D.
I move we table item D till next meeting.
There's a motion from Director Corbett.
I didn't hear the motion.
I'm sorry, can you hear me better now?
It's
You can hear me better now. Okay, I
There.
move that we table the consent calendar item until the next meeting.
I'll second.
Or let me change that, or at the chairman's call.
Or what?
or the chair, or it's the chairman's call. I'm fine with the motion to, is that appropriate to table the item for the May meeting?
Yeah, I think that postpone would be a better word than table.
Postpone.
I'll change my motion to postpone it till the next meeting.
Thank you.
Second.
Oh, Director Barsante had the second. I was going to ask her if her second still stands.
All right.
Can you read the motion
To
again? Because it was kind of in and out. I didn't quite.
postpone D3 until the next meeting. D4. No, it's D3.
D3.
Yeah, D3. Postpone D3 until the next meeting.
Yes. Yeah, I would like the second.
Thank you. And I'd like to open this up for any public comment.
No hands raised.
No, oh, nobody's hands are raised. Right. Okay. So seeing no public comment, then we will move back into the agenda. We are now in
Got a vote.
We have a motion and a second.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote. Thank you for reminding me.
Director Barsanti,
Aye.
Director Corbett,
Aye.
Director Couch,
Right.
Director Mayo,
Yes.
President Burke.
Yes. Okay. Now we are moving into E, continued in new business, starting with E1 on page 35. Consider approve resolution number 2020-05 declaring an emergency and temporarily changing the location of public meetings. And this is to our general manager.
Thank you, President Burke. Since March 4th, the state of California has been in a state of emergency due to the threat of novel coronavirus 2019 or COVID-19. On March 19th, the Humboldt County Health Officer published a shelter-in-place order, which was followed shortly after by the Governor Newsom publishing a stay-at-home order for the state of California. In addition, the governor published executive orders N2-20. I think that's a misprint. I think it's N20.
2025.
25-20 and then N29-20, relaxing and suspending specific Brown Act requirements regarding locations of meetings through the executive order, the government, and through the executive orders of the governor. MCSD can now hold meetings electronically and or telephonically in order to uphold shelter in place and stay-at-home orders by board, staff, and the public. Through the proposed resolution, the board of directors will be declaring a local state of emergency to coincide with the county's and the state's declarations during COVID-19 pandemic. The resolution also will dictate the electronic, telephonic location of regular board meetings during this time. Staff recommends that the board review, take public comment, and approve resolution 2020-05, which is attachment 1, declaring an emergency and temporarily changing the location of public meetings to take place electronically and telephonically.
All right. Any board comment or question?
I have a comment, Mary.
Okay. Let's hear it.
And it's a bit of a political esoteric comment. I do not accept anyone's order for me to do a damn thing, the governor or anyone else. I do this voluntarily because as a citizen, I believe it's correct. And that's all I wanted to say. I didn't want to be a big deal about it, but there are some sovereignty issues involved in it. And as a citizen, we have the obligation to do the right thing. So I agree, and I'm doing the right thing. But as a citizen, I also object to any absolute orders that I shall or shall not do. I think a lot of people feel that way, but I just wanted to say it, and I don't mean to be, goofy about it. But anyway,
All right.
I guess I think you give my point of view. Yeah, that's all.
Thank you. Thank you for expressing your point of view. Director Couch.
I was just going to move that we approve resolution number 2020-05, declaring an emergency and temporarily changing the location of public meetings.
Second.
And I second that even after my comments.
Director Corbett beat you to it.
Well, he's a good man today.
Okay, any public comment?
Around,
Any public comment on item E1? Seeing no raised hands, roll call vote, please.
Director Barsanti,
Yes.
Director Corbett,
Yes.
Director Couch,
Aye.
Director Mayo,
Yeah.
President Burke.
Yes, and I just want to take a moment and thank the general manager and the staff for getting standard operating procedures in place to protect our own staff and allow business and operations to go on as our services are integral to the health and safety of our community. So thank you for working hard on allowing our staff to continue to do work. And you know, that thanks goes to all of our staff families, who, as I understand, who are really stepping up to help take care of not just the staff individual, but kids at home and all. So thanks to our whole community for looking out for each other and all the work you're doing out there to keep the community safe and operating as normally as we can in this time.
Well, we very much appreciate that. Thank you, President Burke.
Into item E2. This is also our general manager, declare Mercer Fraser Company lowest responsible and responsive bidder for the lift station upgrades project and authorize board president construction contract with Mercer Fraser Company. Page 38.
Thank you. The Hilliard Lift Station was identified as at or near capacity. It was also important that any upgrades that were done at the station would utilize the most cost-efficient solutions and that lifetime costs would be considered. Staff identified the project had the potential to fit within the criteria to be eligible for the State Revolving Fund Energy Efficiency Grant when we were writing the grant that also we're utilizing for the microgrid project. GHD was obtained to provide design, construction management, construction inspection, and post-construction services for the lift station upgrade. The project was sent to bid, and the district received 2 bids for the Hilliard Lift Station upgrade project on Wednesday, March 4th, and they followed the following results. Mercer Fraser with a base bid of $481,500, and Muse Concrete with a base bid of $593,225. The bids are included as attachments 3 and 4 for your review. Based on the results, Mercer Fraser is the apparent low bidder. Staff and our consultant reviewed the responsiveness of their bids, and it appears complete. GHD recommends that the board of directors award the contract for the construction of the Hilliard Lift Station upgrade project, including the base bid and the additive bids, to Mercer Fraser in an amount of $508,500, consistent with the bid award recommendation in memorandum in the bid award recommendation memorandum, which is attachment 1. So there's a table under fiscal analysis. This basically breaks down the bids. I'll remind the board that the fiscal impact on McKinleyville Community Services District is that half of this project will be grant funded, and the other half of this project will be a loan financed through a 1.8% loan, which at the time that we got this bid funding agreement was a pretty good rate. Not so much anymore, but all things being equal, we can look at this as a 0.8% loan, which is still highly competitive. So the staff recommends that the board review the information provided, take public comment, and declare Mercer Fraser Company responsible, responsive, and low bidder. Award the bid for the Hilliard Lift Station upgrade project to Mercer Fraser Company for an amount of $508,500. Include a 10% project contingency of $50,850 for a total amount of $559,350, and authorize the board president to execute the documents as attachment 5 to allow the award of the contract and declare the general manager as the designated representative of MCSD for the Hilliard Lift Station upgrade project.
Mary, Dennis Mayo, subject to public and board comment, I would like to move to support the staff recommendation.
Thank you. We have a second at this time. I see John's hand up.
I just wanted to make sure that our board secretary has the motion in full, because it's not necessarily the staff report piece together.
I didn't get all of that.
So Director Corbett wanted to make sure that board secretary has, can you say that next part again? John, Director Corbett?
Yeah, does she have the text of the motion? Can she read the motion? Does she understand what it is?
Oh,
The staff recommendation, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
I'll second.
okay.
Subject to public hearing.
Further board comment? Or question? Director Couch?
I would just, when I went down through the list of costs, I thought, I mean, I support approving this, but I thought Mercer Fraser was kind of too cheap on the electric flow meter, and that they were like 10,000 and the other company was 50,000. And my experience is that 10,000 is pretty cheap for an electric flow meter.
Could I comment on that,
Yes,
Dennis?
go ahead.
General Manager Orsini, could you comment on that? And what is our leeway in terms of override if that ended up being the case?
Well, so they bid $10,500. I really don't know how, without a fairly substantive argument, that they would be able to, if they're, so here's how this will work. Whatever that $10,500 flow meter is, they're going to have to provide a submittal to our engineers. That submittal is going to have to meet the standards and specifications for what the criteria are for that flow meter. If it meets that criteria, the submittal will be approved. If not, then they'll have to resubmit. Without any real pertinent reason, they're going to be held to having to come up with a flow meter that meets our specifications for $10,500.
Gotcha. So, Director Couch, rephrase my question if you care to. The amount that they bid for, if it's over that, is it your opinion that they should eat that cost?
Yes.
Okay.
So,
And subject to our general manager's assessment of the situation, would you concur with his assessment of whether they should eat it or we should compromise?
So yeah. So let's not go down that road yet. I would like to ask Pat, since Pat Kaspari is on the line, if he has any opinion on the discrepancy between the two. Pat, would you, if I meet you, would you mind to chime in on this?
Sure, Greg. You know, I think your assessment is completely correct. That's their bid, and they're going to have to submit on that meter. And we called out a specific meter that we want. So it's going to be tough for them to get around not providing that meter for the cost that they bid.
Okay. All right. I'm satisfied with that, guys. I wasn't trying to create a major problem. I just always kind of like to know what I'm getting into before I get into it.
Okay. Yeah. They're going to have some serious explaining to do before I'm going to let them slide on not providing us a flow meter for $10,500 that meets our specification.
Director Corbett?
Oh, I just want to say that I think it's very important, since this is a bid process. We accept the bid as submitted. Good brushing your teeth, hygiene there. But we accept the bid as submitted, and then if there are other issues and problems, General Manager has been given a red flag by Director Couch, which I think is really valuable. But I don't want us to, if we start messing with the bid, that's not a good place to be. We got to say,
Right.
responsible.
Right. What
Was that a motion?
Director?
I thought we already had a motion. But,
Okay.
We do. I would like. Could I make one more comment?
I just wanted to keep it crisp.
Yes, go ahead, Dennis.
Oh, so I completely think that Mercer Fraser is going to do a good job, but I want all of the board members to know that I totally appreciate Director Couch's comments on this, and I just want everybody to know that I'm leaning that way, and I just appreciate those comments. That's all.
Yeah. No, Director Couch's observations are well taken, and I'll be surprised if they can come up with the flow meter that meets the specification for $10,500, but I've been wrong before.
This is James. Can I make a quick comment?
All right, so any more board comments?
Who else to make a comment? James.
Yeah, I guess, not that I want to belabor this whole thing, but if you look at the other alternative item, they're also $35,000. I think this is a local versus out of town, and sending somebody here to install these meters and do the lining. I think it's just showing that local versus out of town, there's a cost to it.
Gotcha.
Good point, James.
Okay, any further staff or board comment? Any public comment on this item? Seeing no hands raised. Oh wait, public comment. We're supposed to unmute everybody to get public comment.
Everybody's been unmuted other than Jack.
Oh, and Jack's probably in.
Leslie and Pat keep muting themselves even though I unmute them, so
Yeah.
Jack could raise his hands if he wanted. And Jack really, I don't know. Hey, Jack, do you have anything to say?
No, I got nothing. Nothing to say.
Thank
Okay,
you.
hi Jack. Thanks for being here. Okay, I will take a roll call vote.
Director Barsanti,
Yes.
Director Corbett,
Yes.
Director Couch,
Yes.
Director Mayo,
Yes.
and President Burke.
Okay, we are skipping ahead 200 pages to item E3 on page 238. Review of Parks and General Fund draft operating budget 2020 and 2021. And this is Finance Director Colleen Trask.
Hi, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So this is the Parks and the Measure B draft budgets. At this point, when we completed these budgets and these revenue estimates, the most important thing right now, when we've completed these budgets and revenue estimates, we did not take into account the impact or the potential future impact of the COVID-19 shelter-in-place orders, because we have no idea how long they were supposed to go on. When I bring the final budget back to the board in June, hopefully we will have a much better grasp of what that's going to look like, and we'll be able to estimate it better. I know this is just an informational item, but that's kind of the big obvious, the elephant in the room, so I'll just call it out. There's the elephant in the room.
Thank you. Any board question or comment?
Colleen, I can't seem to find it in my packet.
I can't hear you, Director Corbett.
Of a
Page 238.
Okay.
Director Corbett was saying, I think he couldn't find it in the packet. Is that?
No. I found it in the packet, but I can't find it right now.
Okay.
You had a lease that was being amortized by Parks and Rec. Maybe it's in your financial report up front. I don't know. And I didn't understand it because I'll tell you the concept behind it. It had about 1.9 million, if I understood, was being paid off this last year. Maybe that was a cumulative total. And then they had 1.8 million, something like that, left over. And that would suggest the lease would be paid off this year. And I don't think that's.
No, the only lease that the Parks and Rec, the only outstanding debt that they have is the teen center, the
Right,
construction loan.
center.
So yeah, that's and that total is, I mean, I think 1.8 million was the total original loan.
Oh, okay.
So that's, yeah. And that's actually in the current, I mean, that's in the current board report. The current balance is in the current treasurer's report.
Okay, then that explains what I needed to know. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Any additional question or comment from board members? Well, thank you for, speaking to the uncertainty of this time, especially when we're looking at a program that operates in person primarily. And so we will see this coming back to us, you said, in June?
Yeah. We'll bring the operating budget for the water and wastewater and streetlights to you guys next month. And then the final budget will be for the June board meeting. And then we'll have a legal budget ready to go at the start of the new fiscal year in July.
Okay, so this is an informational item. I'm just going to ask one more time. Are there any questions, comments from any board members and or public? And any comments from you there, Greg? I can't see you, but.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was looking at my, I got so much stuff and I have to lean over to read my board packet. No comments or questions. Thank you, President Berg.
Okay. Ready to move on to item E4. E4, initiate process for general manager's performance evaluation. This is page number 241, presented by our board secretary, April Sousa.
All right, so everybody should have received blank copies of the general manager's performance evaluation in an envelope. And so at this time, this is, part of our board policy manual that you guys conduct this performance evaluation of the general manager every year. And the department heads will also be given this evaluation. And so what needs to happen now is that staff recommends that the board discuss, take public comment, and ask the board president to select one board member to consolidate all of the board members and the department head evaluations, and then set a schedule for the general manager evaluation.
And there's bullet points in the discussion. So some of the dates that you're for the schedule would be to complete and return the sealed evaluations to the board secretary. The date the appointed consolidator will retrieve the evaluations, and the date for the closed session for the general manager's performance evaluation.
I'm sorry, I've got a little background distraction going on. So let's see. It's on us to come up with a date to complete and return the sealed evaluations, and then I need to appoint a consolidator. And then we have the date for the closed session for general manager's performance evaluation. So seeing as how we're April, and Greg, your last board meeting is the July.
Would be July 1st, correct? Or the July board meeting, whatever that is.
Yeah, I think it's the first actually.
Well, so let's see, how much time can people deal with a 2-week turnaround on the evaluations? Does that seem reasonable?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, and also to our department heads? Colleen, it looks like you're muted.
2 weeks is fine.
Fine with
I
Leslie?
think Colleen's trying to say something, but her microphone's off, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, Greg's away from the unmuting, so he can't unmute.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was flipping the
Colleen.
I didn't mute Colleen.
Maybe she muted herself.
It's not, yeah. Okay.
Well,
There it goes.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, I'm still here. I just didn't want you guys to get the background noise.
Yeah. So 2 weeks is an okay turnaround for you?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. And James, you as well?
absolutely.
So that puts us mid-April.
15th.
So the 17th would be the Friday in 2 weeks.
Okay, April 17th, that would be when we would all turn our evaluations into the board secretary. We could potentially have the consolidator consolidate in time for our next board meeting. That would be our May board meeting. Do you think that's reasonable?
It's usually typically how we're able to do it the next month.
And that date that we need this in place to be ready for, so this happens in closed session, so it doesn't need to get into the board packet.
Correct.
So what, give us a date that, April, that you could, let's see. So the consolidator would get the information to you, I don't know, how many days ahead of the board meeting?
If you want it to go, if you want the information to go out to everybody in time for the board meeting, I could do like what I did with the last one and put it in a sealed envelope when we give out the packet. So that would be before the Friday. So Thursday before would be good. That would be
the 30th.
The 30th.
Yeah, the 30th. The 30th. That way you would have time to review them. They could come with your board packets, and you'd have time to review them before the closed session.
And if I remember correctly, I consolidated the last round, and I didn't get my consolidation out to everyone before the closed session, but we'll make sure we do that this time. So April 30th. So now all I need is a consolidator, and rather than making somebody do something, I'm gonna first see if there's a someone who would like to step forward and be the consolidator.
I'll volunteer if nobody else does. Yeah. I'll be happy to
Wonderful.
volunteer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure. I know. I was waiting to see if anybody wanted it.
Thank you, Director Barsanti. Okay, so is everyone clear on the dates? Can you run those by us again, April?
I have that they will be turned into me on the 17th of April. That Shell will be the consolidator, and that all the information will need to be consolidated by April 30th so that we can get it to the board in time for the May board meeting, which is when the actual performance evaluation will take place.
And I'll just say if, you know, unforeseen circumstances end up causing a delay for whatever reason, just because we have such uncertainty in these times, we do have the ability to allow this item to move to the June board meeting, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, at this point in time, I don't want to. Yeah, I don't think that it would make a whole lot of difference. I don't know how much more damage I could do to them.
Okay. So I have made my appointment. Is there any more board comment or question?
No.
Was that something from you, Director Mayo?
I said no.
So if it would be for the pleasure of the board, I would like April to go back down and reiterate what the board, the consensus item.
With the all the dates again?
Yeah,
Okay.
just run the dates.
All right, so the dates and everything, the schedule. April 17th, turn in the evaluations to the board secretary. April 30th, April 30th is when the consolidator will have the information back. The consolidator is Shell. And the performance evaluation will take place at the May board meeting, which is May 6th. And if unforeseen circumstances happen, it can be postponed until June.
Yeah, and so I would imagine that if everybody can get theirs to April by the end of work on the 17th, Shell could pick them up probably on the 20th.
Yeah.
Is that okay, Shell?
That works real good. Can we drop them off in the mailbox
Yeah.
through the slot?
Yeah, because you're gonna seal it.
Okay.
And so, and it says that it's for the general manager.
Okay.
So I'll be able to get it. So you can do the drop box or even the front door slot, I would think.
Yeah.
Because of either one, or you can call me and I'll walk out. And text me and I'll walk out and get it.
Yeah, and that's thank you for bringing that up, April. So while we're isolated like we are, if anybody has any business that they would like that they need to do with either myself or April, please feel free to call ahead before you come, and then either one of us can meet you in the parking lot and we can have a conversation in the parking lot, or trade things off in the parking lot.
Okay. Sounds good.
Moving on to item E5 and looking to our general manager. This is around Measure B.
Okay, thank you. So this is so anyway, when you go to general manager school, they tell you that you shouldn't have more than 20 words in your in your agenda title, but this definitely does not fit within that category. So this is consider adopting resolution 2020-06 and 2020-07, initiating the proceedings for the Measure B Maintenance Assessment District renewal for parks, open space, and recreation facilities, annual levy and collection of the assessments for fiscal year 2020-2021. Collection or declaring intent to levy and collect the fiscal year 2020-2021 annual assessments for the Measure B Maintenance Assessment District, renewal of parks, space, and recreation facilities, accepting and approving the report and setting the public comment. So at this meeting, you have the two resolutions that we're going to ask you to approve, and to review the draft engineer's report. So in 1992, the voters voted in approved the first Measure B that was for 20 years. And then again in 2011, the property owners in McKinleyville voted to tax themselves using the same assessment, $30 for improved parcels and $10 for unimproved parcels, to cover maintenance, capital costs, and for the Parks and Rec Department. So the fiscal impact for 2022 draft engineer's report anticipates that the Measure B collection for the existing 5,820 taxable parcels in the assessment district that benefit the improvements, and based on the proposed assessment rate of $30 per equivalent benefit unit, unchanged from last year. The assessment revenue to be levied and collected on the tax rolls will be approximately $217,638. This assessment revenue represents approximately 35% of the total estimated $622,403 budgeted for fiscal year 2020-21 to fund the operations and maintenance of MCSD's parks and recreation facilities. Staff recommends that the board review the information provided, take public comment, and adopt resolutions 2020-06 and 2020-07, a resolution initiating proceedings for the Measure B Maintenance Assessment District, renewal of parks, open space, and recreational facilities, annual levy and collection of assessments for fiscal year 2020-21, which is attachment B, and a resolution of intention that declares that the board's intention to levy and collect the Measure B Maintenance Assessment District renewal for parks, open space, and recreational facilities annual assessments for fiscal year 2020-21, accepts and approves the engineer's report regarding the assessment and sets the public hearing date for May 6, 2020, which is attachment 2. Or attachment 3, I'm sorry.
Okay, is it to us, Greg?
Yes, it's back to you.
Comments and questions from the board? Dr. Corbett?
I had just a very quick one. We have always been strongly supported by the residents of McKinleyville on this. And it's a sign that they want us to do the water, they want us to do the pipes, but they also are interested in the quality of life here in McKinleyville. And it's really been a great thing for the district and a great thing for the citizens.
Thank you. Yes. Any more question or comment? Any public comment on this item? Okay. I'll entertain a motion. Oh, I see a hand, but Director Corbett.
I'll move we adopt per staff.
Have a motion? He stated, I move we adopt per staff. I have a motion. I'll entertain a second.
I'll second.
Great, thank you. And roll call?
Director Barsanti,
Yes.
Director Corbett,
Yes.
Director Couch,
Yes.
Director Mayo,
Yes.
President Burke.
Yes. Are we into committee reports?
Yes.
Woohoo.
That. Well, and thank you, staff. Thank you, Greg, and all for being really cognizant of making this the items that we really must deal with, keeping our list small. I think we've done a great job, everyone, of getting through here. So with this, we're into item F, reports, active committee reports. And we start with the, oh, look at that shortened list. We start with the Recreation Advisory Committee.
We did not meet due to the Corona situation.
Okay, and area fund? Oh yeah, okay. Director Barsanti, did you get in touch with John Kolkstadt with the area fund?
Yeah, yes, I did. He's been emailing me. Thank you, Mary, for giving him my address. And we were going to meet in May to decide on the grants, but instead we're going to do it via email. So he's got a matrix that's going to be sent out, and in May we'll get to do that. So that's where that stands. So thank you very much for your help with that.
Oh yeah, and I'm glad they're finding an alternative, and I'm just sorry that you can't meet with that group, because it was always a great dialogue around the potential to be giving money out in our community for some really great programs. Thank you.
Yes, most of the people on the board I know, so.
Oh, of course you
Yeah.
do.
Yeah, that's great.
Yes. So REDEC, that's Director Mayo.
Yeah, REDEC's been pretty active, although we haven't had an actual face-to-face meeting over the phone, et cetera. We have initiated some initial grants to businesses and have joined a consortium of state and local organizations to try to get on top of loans, grants, et cetera, to our local businesses, and have made several. I'm not I don't have the authority. That's not right. I can't say anything about what they are because they're proprietary. They're executive committee decisions. I will talk to Director to Greg and see what I can say about it at our next meeting. But I'm very happy that we're joining in with the many business support groups, lending institutions that are doing everything we can to make our local businesses healthy.
Well, thank you.
And that's my report for what it is. And I apologize for not being more specific, but I can't.
No problem there. Thanks for reporting out what you can. McKinleyville Senior Center Board Liaison, Director Barsanti.
The senior center didn't meet because of the coronavirus it was shelter in place. So they didn't meet this month.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Audit, that's Corbett Barsanti.
Nothing to report.
Employee negotiations, Couch Corbett.
Nothing to report.
McKinleyville Municipal Advisory Committee. So the MCMAC did meet. I did not attend. I had a cold and just kept myself away. So, but our general manager, I believe you were there. Would you like to say anything about the last MCMAC meeting?
Yeah, it was a month ago. And I don't remember. So we did meet. No action was taken. And for the life of me, I don't have my notes. I'm sorry. But we were supposed to talk. We were supposed to talk about land use, and it was determined that. Oh, I remember now. So there were some concerns from the public that the survey was not being taken into account with the decisions that were being made, and so the committee determined that we would postpone any further action until the survey was aggregated and brought back to us for our review. And then COVID-19 hit, and we haven't had any other meetings.
Thank you.
For that to come back around on the hard drive.
I missed that.
Oh, I said it took that a minute to come back around on the hard drive.
The whole old hard drive up there. Okay, the Humboldt Local Agency Formation Commission, Couch.
We did not meet, so nothing to report.
And our newly formed committee, Environmental Matters Committee, Couch.
We have not met yet.
Item F2, legislative and regulatory reports. And it actually has its own page 286.
President Burke, now that's a thing that all of us weigh in on, correct?
You know, there is no one assigned to it, and yes, so this appears to be something that we can all weigh in on. In our board packet, we have the take action brief presented to us.
Okay, so I want to give a quick, I've been pretty active with that aspect of our political life over the last few weeks. Many calls to Washington, D.C., several web sessions. The other day I sat in on a webinar with Aqua and Leader Pelosi in the webinar, and I just wanted to tell you that our ongoing water policies, our WIFIA monies, all the things that we had talked about a month and 2 months ago are still ongoing. There's nothing been changed. Everybody's occupied, of course, with this crisis that we're in, but all of our continuing reservoir re-ops, our infrastructure on you know, all the things water-wise that we're working on are still exactly the same as they were, and we're working on them, and people are paying attention to them and are concerned about them, but everything is just about as it was 60 days ago. So that's where things are. Nobody's not concerned about our water issues, but there are obviously a few other pressing issues going on.
Thank
And
you.
that's my comment. Yeah.
Director Corbett?
Yeah, to Director Mayo. I had read a newspaper article, and I know I talked to you about it orally afterwards, that a concern had been raised by some agricultural interests about the Pacific Dam removal, and those dams don't provide any ag water. Have you heard anything further on that either way?
No, that's John. That's ongoing, and I wish I had better info for you on that. But all of that's, you know, it's not at stalemate, but it's a tough thing because it seems like everything is on hold, but it isn't. There's lots and lots of work going on. It's just that anyway. So that's where that's at, John. I don't have any more than that to tell you.
Okay, thank you.
Any other board member input into legislative activities? Questions? Staff or general manager?
Sure. So the take action brief is published by CSDA, and I'm not gonna go through. There's at this point in time, I've been out of the loop on what's going on related to legislation for the past 2 weeks or 3 weeks, as you can imagine, with what's been going on with COVID. So I really can't speak to this, but these are, if you look through the take action brief, it's the bills that CSDA is in the process now of weighing in on, either supporting, opposing, and it'll give you a basic brief. One thing that I can speak to is that through a consortium of water agencies, we wrote a group email and sent it to the water board, to the state water board, and requested that that they extend the requirement for reporting out, and actually Paul Helliker, which was Humboldt Bay Municipal Water District's general manager, and he's now the San Juan Water District's or San Juan Water District's general manager, and so we've requested that that the State Water Board extend the requirements for reporting. And they already have extended the electronic annual report that's due is been extended. And I would just like to mention to the board that James decided that he didn't need that extension, and ours is sitting on my desk for my review.
Excellent. And thank you, James, for getting that together, even with the ability to have an extension in there.
Did I mention I didn't tell James that it was extended?
No, I worked weekends and nights to get it done.
So James, Dennis here. Did you do that all on your own?
No comment.
James,
friends like me, you don't need no enemies, brother.
So anyway, if you've never seen the annual electronic report, James doesn't do it on his own. It's a group effort, and James basically herds the cats and gets all the information. Information comes from Colleen, from Dave, and from James, and they collaborate on that and get it done. The report's quite comprehensive, and we actually have to go through and itemize every single water quality complaint that we've got, and that's how detailed the annual report is. But anyway, it's quite an effort. And how many hours, James, do you think you usually have in doing it?
22. That's what I reported to them.
Okay. Very good. I'm just going to check if you're going to inflate the number or not.
I hope that wasn't overtime.
Well, thank you to all the staff to getting that report in. And I believe I've heard, I haven't seen it myself, but that the CSDA conference, there's going to be
has been postponed, correct.
I heard there's going to be an online option.
Yes, it's going to be virtual. It's been the meeting in Sacramento, the day and a half meeting in Sacramento has been canceled, and there'll be virtual briefings. The format for the legislative days is going to change significantly, of course, because we're not going to be down there. We're not going to be able to go to the Capitol, but there will be on demand briefings for certain legislations.
Right. And on the same subject, President Burke, our Aqua Spring Conference has been postponed as well.
But is there have you heard of an online format?
No, it's going to be sometime in July, they hope.
Okay. Well, keep us informed. And so this agenda item could be where we, well, let's see, we have a suggestion that I'm favorable to have an agenda item regarding the district's financial and our customers' financial considerations for ongoing shelter-in-place activities, and then, excuse me. In this agenda position, we could discuss other legislative type activities that are helping to, if they don't fall within that agenda item, if that makes it onto the agenda for next meeting. But I just want to earmark that this is where we could have that legislative dialogue on more orders and activities from the governor's office.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Any more from anyone on item F2? Hearing none, we are into F3, staff reports on page 296. We start with Finance Director Colleen Trask.
Yeah, I don't have a lot to add to the written report. Some of the COVID-19 measures that we are taking to protect the front office staff are listed at the end of the report. Basically, the front office is closed to foot traffic, but we are taking payments over the phone, and we are absolutely, of course, taking payments online. We are strongly encouraging people to use the drop boxes, and have gotten a surprising number of, oh, you have a drop box? Yes, you drove by it when you came into the parking lot.
20, for 20 years we've had it.
Something like that, yeah. But that's okay. It's working. Other things we've done, we've put the a fillable PDF for new water service is on the website front page, so people can fill that out, email it to us, and get the payments to us over the phone. So that's a piece of it. We're trying to keep our staff safe, of course, but we're also trying to make sure that the customers are served. The other probably important thing that you guys need to know, particularly the audit committee, is that I sent an email out to the bid pool extending the deadline to May 1st because we have no idea what's going on. And on the plus side, we have 2 bids already. So that's, I mean, everything is in suspension right now because everything's in suspension right now. But that's, and I think what we've been doing as far as customers locking, we actually haven't locked anyone. We suspended the lock with the general manager's approval for this past month. But we did follow our process up to and including door hangers, because some people like wait till they get the door hanger to call us and make their payment. But so far we've had an absolutely sterling response. Like everyone who was on the lock list has paid at least something towards their bill, except for one person who doesn't have a good phone number. So, I mean, our goal at this point is to make sure that everyone comes out of this with not having a gigantic water bill. So we're trying real hard to work with everybody. We're just making sure that they know what the payment options are. And I think the other thing that we need to keep in mind here is that we're actually going to see probably an increase in water sales because everyone's at home. So instead of being at school and at work, all those flushing toilets and running sinks are happening at home now. So
How's that going to hurt us?
Well, no, but I mean, it's going to become an issue because people are going to get bigger water bills, and we don't want them to come out of this situation that's already a financial hardship with a really gigantic water bills. So we're trying to help them stay on top of it and keep ahead of it, and we're staying in real strong touch with them.
Yeah. All right.
And that's all I had for, unless you guys have questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay. Seeing none, we thank you, Colleen. We are on to Operations Director James Henry.
I'm sorry, I did have one question.
Oh,
Anybody who meets
please.
with staff, do we have masks at all? And we may not.
Could you repeat the question?
If people come into the office while we're screening, do we have masks for our employees?
Right now, we're not wearing masks. We do take appointments, but we are basically sanitizing everything in the office multiple times a day. My team has got glove protocols, and they're using them. I'm making sure that they're using them. So we're not trying to handle people's, money and documents without that. But no, we haven't. And the other thing is we've stayed behind the glass. The first thing we did was lock that half door.
Yeah,
So,
I'm very impressed.
But yeah, we don't have the masks right now, no.
I'm very impressed with your efforts.
I have a question. Colleen, is everybody working or are there some folks working at home? Did you keep the whole staff on?
We have, yes, the whole staff is still on because we need to run the bills. We need to run the billing cycles. We need to keep current on that. We need to have all of that information that comes from operations. And that's not really something that you can get at home. So we, we run those billing cycles. That way we can call the customers. I mean, we probably could do some of that at home, but it's so, we have to have some level of interaction with operations, and we really need to be there for that. The other thing is we have to man the phones because
I wasn't suggesting that you.
Oh, no, I know.
I was just asking. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. And I'm just telling you, this is what I told them. It's like, we have to be there when somebody calls in and says, there's a geyser in my driveway. Right? We're there.
We are practicing social distancing at work. I basically isolated the operations staff from the services, and the Parks and Rec staff have all sort of have been separated from each other. The operations staff has been broken into 3 groups, 2 field crews, and then the management crew. And the same thing with the parks maintenance staff. They're broken into two independent crews.
Well, I'm curious what the Park and Rec staff is doing that isn't maintenance.
Maintenance.
They're helping with maintenance.
Yeah.
The parks office staff is actually helping us up front.
Oh, okay, that's good. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, we've used that as an opportunity. The administrative part of the Parks and Rec crew are cross training now to learn positions in case we end up with people having to stay home because of COVID, so that we can continue to operate.
Great job. All right.
This is Dennis. I have a comment if there's a time for it.
Sure. Go ahead.
Okay, so many people are at home sheltering in place, and there are many of us like myself who have our own personal responsibilities we can't not do. I have to go feed the cows up at Humboldt Hill. I have to go pick up feed my livestock every day. I can do that without having any contact with anybody, and I do. And then the rest of my day is spent in isolation doing work around my place. But those of you who are working at our water district are much like my friends who work at the Bloodmobile, as an example, at the senior housing home living situation, who are required to be there. And I had spoken about this with several of you in the past, but I think that our district needs to find out what the financial opportunities that are available in the stimulus package, so that we can get money. It'll come in the form of loans that will end up being grants if in fact we pay our employees. I think all of our employees who have stayed the course and stayed at work need to be paid either hazard duty pay or time and a half or what have you, because it's like with some of the other folks that I've mentioned. They've stayed the course and stayed there working to make our society continue to run. And I think they need to be compensated for that. I know it's hard for us as a district to just say, yeah, we're going to pay you guys extra money. But that money is available in stimulus form that will end up being a positive to our society next year, 2 years from now, 3 years from now. So I just wanted to throw that out. I'd like you guys on the staff level to keep your keep open for these opportunities. They're really not opportunities; they're necessities of financial reimbursement that are available. If I see any of them, I'll forward them as well. But I really think that our staff needs to be compensated for staying the course.
Yeah, thank you, Dennis. I very much appreciate that. We're definitely exploring that. As of right now, everything is all tax credit based, and since we don't pay taxes, the ratepayers are going to be eating the cost of the extra 80 hours of sick leave and the extended family sick leave if anybody opts to take that. So, but we are watching. The first step in that is declaring an emergency and then tracking time, which we've been doing, to be able to draw if and when FEMA cuts loose with some funds.
Right. I appreciate that, Greg. And I would have been on the call tonight, but I couldn't because we needed to be here on this call. But Senator McGuire was having a town hall tonight on the phone. And I had talked to his staff and him this week. And I also talked to Congressman Huffman specifically about this. And we need to keep pushing it because, you know, many times it isn't that agencies, elected officials, et cetera, you know, are thinking, oh, to hell with you. It's just they're not thinking in the totality that you are also part of this necessity, and we have to point that out to them continually.
Yep, Barbara Boxer. Was that who got the letter today?
Diane Feinstein.
Oh, Diane Feinstein actually got a letter from us today to remind her that special districts are suffering through this too.
I saw
Beautiful.
from Director Corbett.
Super briefly, I like the concept immensely. The German model is they just write checks to the companies for every employee that they don't lay off. And their goal is that they have an intact economic or governmental units available the second you get on the other side of the virus. And I think that's a superior model. We're going a little bit, we got to show destruction and then get compensation. The closer we can start pushing the policymakers towards paying not to destroy it and repair it, but not to keep it intact, the faster we'll come back on our economic rebound.
Well, again, I think we got most of that, John, but your audio continues to sort of go in and out.
Okay, I'm going to try and work on that for the next meeting.
Hey, John, can I give you a suggestion? Because I see you on the camera. Stay back. You start talking and then you lean forward, then we can't hear you. Lean back and speak normally and we can hear you. When you lean forward, that's where we lose you.
Is this better?
Well, we'd have to hear a longer statement because it tends to kind of go loud and then quiet.
I'll try and work out something where I practice to get my audio better.
Great, thank you.
Thank you for bringing it to my attention.
So where were we? We were finishing up support services.
Yeah, I think we were done with support services. We're moving on to operations.
Operations. Right. Okay. Did I look? Oh, yes. And then we had a comment. Okay. So I had turned to James Henry, operations director. And it looks like everybody's ready to move that direction. So I'm turning to you, James.
Nothing further to add at this time. Thank you.
Any questions or comments from the board members? Any comment from our general manager or any other staff?
Nope.
Then we are in.
Mary,
Yes.
Mary, I have a comment I'd like to make if you don't, just quickly.
Okay.
You know, there's been a whole lot of really amazing things happen in our community that people, you know, don't know about. Some of us do, some of us don't. The community has amazingly pulled together, and that's kind of a tenet, not just of America, but of humans, you know, human beings. But there's somebody on our board, and I'm not going to single this person out, but I'm just going to say in general, that has exemplified this in our community, and many others have, and I'm sure that others on the board have. But this particular board member has went out of their way in our community to find seniors who needed food and have bought and sent them food. And I just think that this individual exemplifies the spirit of this community, and I couldn't be prouder. And I am very humbled to be a small part of this community.
Thank you for that, and thank you to our board members and our staff, and you know, really pulling together to support the community. Thank you for sharing, Director Mayo. Turning to Parks and Rec, our Recreation Director, Leslie Frisbee.
I have nothing to add to my very short and sad report.
Oh. Your picture's really cute. Your picture is really cute, Leslie, with your little guy.
Oh, well, thank you. We're at the top of a Ferris wheel.
Okay, so moving into General Manager's report.
I have nothing to add, thank you.
So we are at President's Report, and again, I can't thank our staff, our General Manager, enough for pulling together and supporting each other during this time and keeping our community safe. And you know, thanks to everyone for doing their part to make it through this shelter in place and to meet people's needs. It's a tough time. It's a new time. It's something we haven't experienced before. So stay strong and healthy, I hope, for all of you, and take care of each other. Continue to be there, and offer help where you can safely.
Yep, I would just like to add, I think that, so now I want to talk after I said I had nothing else to add. I would like to recognize every single one of our staff, the attitude and the heroism of every one of our staff members that know that the safe place to be would be at home, and they understand the fact that they're essential and that they're first responders, and that they're coming to work every day, and that they're conscientious about making sure that they're social distancing, even though they're here with people that they work with every day, to make sure that we're not being a liability to each other. and just the sheer stress that everybody's under, but we're all able to maintain a smile on our faces for the vast majority of the day. I think that we've all had the conversations, and we all discuss that it's a minute by minute day with the stressors that we're under, worrying about our families and our coworkers. But it's just amazing to watch how everybody's pulling together and putting forth the effort. I'm very proud to work with these individuals.
Thank you.
Right on, Greg. Right on.
Yeah.
So I do look forward to working with our general manager on an agenda item to keep the reality of how this shelter in place and dealing with COVID-19 continues to affect the district. So I will look forward to communicating with you about that, Greg. And that concludes my president's report. So item F.
James has his hand up.
Oh, who does?
James.
James Henry.
Yeah, I just wanted to see if that worked, and I'm just playing with my thing here and seeing if the hand raising. It was only on there for 25 minutes. I'm just kidding. I was just going to be the ass of the whole meeting and point out that we all are aware of how this virus gets to you, and I was very observant during this meeting, and every single one of you are touching your faces and touching your noses and touching your eyes. And I just want to be the ass that calls that out to everybody, except for Leslie, who's just frozen with a smile on her face. I don't know if she's touching her face, but Mary, you did the best. Mary, you did do the best out of all. You were using a napkin, and then in the very last second, you touched your cheek. But anyway, I just pointed that out. I'm joking, but I'm also serious. Like, that is how it gets there. So just keep that in mind.
So Dennis, how do you make such a statement, young man? You couldn't see me.
Okay, let me rephrase this. Who I could see. Sorry, Dennis.
Oh, that's hilarious.
We are into item F5, board member comments, announcements, reports, and agenda item requests. We have Director Couch.
Well, I just wanted to say this meeting worked out pretty well, and I wanted to thank April and Greg for setting it up, and seems to be good. Thanks.
Yay.
Yeah, good job.
It was all April.
Thank you, April.
I have a comment, Mary, but that's if somebody else doesn't have their hand up yet.
James still has his hand up.
Can you clear James Henry's hand?
Clear his hand.
I'm learning.
And I don't see any other comments. Go ahead, Director Mayo.
So I wanted to say, tell you all something that's been pretty neat for me. When I was back in DC in February, I met a lot of new folks and made some new, very good friends, one of whom is Nigel Farage, the head of Brexis in, and I had a half-an-hour conversation with Nigel today. And, it's exactly the same. Our situations that we have going on for us and him and his life and what's going on in his country are exactly the same. And both him and I, which doesn't matter to anybody in the world. You can all think whatever you want. It doesn't matter. But both him and I said to the same conclusion that this is a tough time, not the toughest time at all that the world has seen, but a tough time. And when this is over, I believe, and he believes, that we all will have learned something incredibly valuable. In the worst of times, the best comes out of people. And that's what I see in my community. That's what I see with a board member that I know who has just done amazing stuff for people who needed things done for them, and all of our staff. And I'm really not a negative person. I'm someone who sees, let's figure out how to get her done all the time. And I believe that's the part of our society that's going to make this be a success. And I know each and every one of you on the board, we have our different political positions and thought processes, etc. But I know each and every one of you on the board are so committed to this community, and so is our staff. And I'm really proud to be a very, very, very small part of that.
Thank you for your comments. Any other comments? Well, with that, I call this meeting adjourned and wish you all well until we see each other again.
And thank you, Mary.
God bless America. God bless America.
Thank you,
Thank
Mary.
you all. Thank you.
God bless America.